The doors of learning at several campuses across the country remain firmly shut as fire, smoke, rubber bullets, tear gas, and stone throwing have become the order of the day. This week, more campuses catching the fires of fees must fall. Rose University in Grahamstown, where police used brute force to enforce a court interdict against students. University of Johannesburg, where private security guards unleashed violence against students and journalists, including an eNCA intern outside the Dorenfontein campus. University of Limpopo, where students claim they were attacked by private security guards in their residences. And University of KwaZulu-Natal, where a residence was set alight in the Pietermaritzburg campus. Still, the students remain resolute.
We are going to hold the ground until we get free education.
Education is a right. Education is not a commodity, it cannot be sold. The idea that we must pay for education is the idea that one day we'll be told that we must pay for police to arrest criminals. We cannot pay for basic services that we must be receiving. By the way, they are the ones who promised us before we were born. Before we were born, they promised us free education.
It's not like these students were students were asking for alcohol. We're not asking for alcohol or drugs. We're asking for basic free education. It's a necessity.
But with just a few weeks to the end of the 2016 academic year, concern is growing about the impact of the shutdown of campuses throughout the education system.
We probably won't finish the academic year. If we can, that means that students won't graduate, they won't be able to start their jobs in January. We probably won't be able to take in new students leaving school. We might have to run the academic program into 2017 and only take in students late.
Most people, I am sure, will say they're very supportive of a fees must fall position. But they're also saying, we want the academic program to continue, to save the academic program for 2016. Because the message that's coming out of the protesters is the following: no free education, no education at all. It's a dangerous position to take. You know, there was a slogan in the 80s.
I saw your tweet in that regard, a whole generation of students, you said in your tweet.
That's right. When you said no education before liberation, you destroyed a whole generation.
Those who are hoping to be in the tertiary level next year are having doubts now whether they are going to go they are going to be accepted or what. But I think the Department of Higher Education must come with a serious, or the institutions must come with a serious solution.
We are scared because when we see that the students are violencing the schools, now we are wondering where we'll get the better education, even the quality that we need the most.
And differences of opinion on the cause and tactics used to pursue it are becoming more apparent.
I think it is vital for us to get our voices heard. A majority has been silent for far too long. Our voices have been compromised, and that is something that we cannot be content with. We believe that we understand some of the struggles that the people are struggling with, right? But it has been clear, it's been brought to public's eye that most of the reasons why people are shutting down the institution is to bring back the expelled and interdicted students. And we say, if you want a truth and reconciliation process to be done, the way you go about forgiveness is not demanding it. It's not shutting down the whole institution, not compromising thousands of students' education in the name of bringing back 5 people to their institution, 5 people who are aware that they were criminalizing themselves, but still engaged in such conduct, and that is unfair.
We sense that there might be a third force element in our struggle that want to delegitimize our call for free quality education. They might come wholly to us because we are in need of assistance. Actually, we are vulnerable because we want the government to hear this call. So they might come wholly to us, whereas they're perpetuating a regime change agenda in the country. So we must put it categorically that we have said to the Minister of State Security that also we need its intelligence to be increased in our campuses, so as to detect all those assault and damage to property before they could happen.
It's prompted university leadership to turn to unorthodox and at times controversial measures, such as the deployment of extra private security, whose strong-arm tactics have backfired.
I was one of the journalists who was ambushed by the bouncers, as they have become popularly known, referred to. There are some of the students here as witness how I was assaulted. I was first pepper sprayed, and whilst I was being pepper sprayed, I got completely blinded, and then, blows landed on me. And they tried to break the camera also. We had a bit of a tussle over the camera. And when I was trying to escape, those who had the riot squad shields, they tried to prevent me from getting away.
We went there, we were planning to just block the entrance and sit peacefully. They opened the gate and started throwing stones at students. We are tired of being victimized in this institution. I don't know Rensburg personally, but I hate him with a passion. I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate that man.
They overstepped that line. They responded to student activists at the Doornfontein campus, about 150 such activists and community members from outside the university. They responded to that by pursuing them. I understand also in some instances by responding to rock throwing with counter rock throwing. That is clearly unacceptable. In addition to that, I understand that they also pepper sprayed some of the journalists who were observing in order to report on the situation. And again, that is unacceptable. In fact, unacceptable is not the word. It is completely rejected. That kind of behavior is completely inappropriate.
Wits University, whose security was also slammed for its behavior last week, is now turning to democratic practice. Conducting an electronic poll whose results on Friday indicated 77% support from students and staff for the resumption of academic activities amid stringent security next Monday.
There are people working on a security plan as we speak, but we are in consultation with the police. We do need them. In any country, it's the police's responsibility to maintain law and order. It's not, universities are not equipped to do that. And indeed, our campus control is not equipped to do that. So we're liaising with the police. We will have private security on board as well. We are prepared to withdraw the police and private security on 3 conditions: that the university program goes ahead unhindered, secondly, that students and staff are not intimidated, that there's no threat to life or threat of violence, and lastly, if anyone's caught breaking the law or the university's rules, that they will be suspended and investigated.
Vice-chancellors are now in the firing line, not only for their security plans, seen as militarizing campuses, but also for suggesting the protests are holding to ransom students and staff willing to get on with university business.
The fact of the matter is that our universities right now are anti-poor and anti-black. And what we need to be saying as vice-chancellors, what we would like them to say, is that we support what the students are saying. What are we going to do about it? Because right now, vice-chancellors have become Bladen Zimande's spokespeople. Vice-chancellors have taken the side of the status quo. They are, in fact, gatekeeping this unjust system. And so to expect students not to raise issue with them, and the hypocrisy that comes from that, to support a system where the most marginalized and the poor are made to fight for the crumbs at the table of the privileged, which is exactly what that kind of propaganda does, is completely unintellectual and irrational.
While concerned academic staff are also demanding to be heard.
What we're doing as an academic body who represents academic staff is coming out to call for greater funding of higher education. We're being very clear that we believe what's at stake here and what is at the source of the crisis is public funding for higher education. And what we want is government to come to the table to give more money to universities so we improve access to students, and particularly students from marginalized backgrounds.
The way this thing is being managed seems to be calculated to escalate. And, what I would have hoped we could have done is show the rest of the country how one can arrive at a negotiated solution to these things, because we need to understand what we're dealing with. We have young people who are extremely disaffected by a system that has failed them in so many ways. They arrive at a university, they feel alienated because of the culture that they are made to feel they don't fit in because of their language or accent or background. And they have come from a culture of street protests over service delivery. And there's nothing wrong with protest. We need to have a negotiation over the terms of the protest. If there's certain things that are not acceptable in a university context.
And politics now loom large over the students' protests and their cause.
Fees must fall is just a symptom. We have to challenge the structural. And the structural is the new liberal policies, economic policies that are running this country, that this country, our government, is so committed to it. And the more they keep the majority of the black child out of school, the more this new liberal, this capitalist will survive.
Government is calling for restraint from both students and law enforcement agencies, while the President and Higher Education Minister are calling an imbizo penciled for Monday.
On Monday, we've called an important meeting of all the stakeholders, not only those who are within the system, the obvious ones, students, vice chancellors, workers, and so on. We've invited all representatives from all faith communities. We've invited representatives from traditional leaders. We've even invited the PSL and the taxi associations, because everybody has got an interest. Is this taxi association, for instance, who carries students every day? They listen to stories. What are the concerns? What are the issues? To try and say, how can we get out of this impasse?
What happens on Monday when universities like Wits and UCT try to reopen their doors will to an extent determine whether the protests escalate or attempts to salvage 2016 as an academic year are given a chance. Thulasizwe Semelane, Johannesburg.